Our speaker tonight, Teri Fegley. Teri is from Pine Grove, and she's the regent for the Harrisburg Chapter of the National Society of the Daughters of the American Revolution. I got it. Regent means that she is like the president or the chairwoman. Okay. I'm proud to say I am a member of the DAR and of Teri's chapter since 2023, but I'm very embarrassed to say I really didn't know what the organization was about. I joined because, as many of you know, I love genealogy, and I knew my fifth great-grandfather was a patriot during the Revolutionary War. And that's all I knew. I just wanted to be part of a genealogical society, more or less. Well, I found out that there is a lot more to the DAR than genealogy. It's a wonderful organization, and I will let Teri tell you all about it.
Thank you, Marilyn. Okay, so it's nice to come up to the northern half of Dauphin County, since so much of what we do is around Harrisburg. And yeah, so I'm going to go through and talk a little bit about the organization and also about America 250, because so much of what we've been doing for the past 3 years is to get ready to celebrate the 250th anniversary. So what is the DAR? So, and I apologize, the fonts are different on this computer, so that's why it's a little wonky. So it's a nonprofit, non-political volunteer women's service organization, and the main focus is historic preservation, education, and patriotism, and I'll share some examples. The National Society was founded in the Gilded Age in 1890 in Washington, and then 4 years later, Harrisburg Chapter was founded. We have about 3,000 chapters in 50 states, the District of Columbia, and then we have some foreign countries as well. And it's a lineage society, so the only way you can join is to prove you are a descendant of someone who served in the American Revolution. And I'll talk a little bit about that, but it can be military service, civil service, or patriotic service. And then, of course, we have the Sons of the American Revolution. Same thing, lineage, you have to prove. We share many of the same patriots, and you just have to be 18. So my daughter turns 18 on June 4th, so guess what's happening. But she has been in the Children of the American Revolution, the CAR, since she was 5. And she's in the car doing her Spanish right now. So this is me, and this is our chapter charter, and that is a Gilded Age dress since we were founded in 1894. We are named after John Harris Jr., and the founder of Harrisburg, and we have over 200 members. And we serve mainly Dauphin and a little bit of Cumberland County, but we also work on national things and a lot of things throughout the state, and I'll share a couple of examples. And we have about 90 chapters in Pennsylvania. So the Daughters is a much more active organization. Unfortunately, the SAR, they don't have as many chapters, and it's kind of hit or miss depending on the chapter and how much activity there is. This is John Harris's home. That was built in 1766. And it is on Front Street. Have any of you seen this? On Front Street? Yeah. So many of the historic homes on Front Street have been. So many of the historic homes on Front Street are gone. There's hospitals and courthouses that, these buildings were raised. But his house still exists, and it is the home of the Historical Society of Dauphin County. And they do tours, and I was just there yesterday for a genealogy workshop. It's quite lovely. So the different committees, as I said, we do historic preservation, education, and patriotism. So we support our veterans and active military. We do a drive for school supplies every year, where military families come to Indiantown Gap, and we have just tables set up of free school supplies, and they come in and fill backpacks for their kids. We do Wreaths Across America. We are one of the oldest we were one of the first chapters in the state of Pennsylvania to do Wreaths Across America. And I know because my daughter has come with me every single year, and she was 2.5 or this year, placing a wreath on a veteran's grave, and she has done it every year with me since. We do different types of awards and recognition. We do JROTC medals, we do ROTC medals, we do historic preservation awards and medals, we do good citizen, we do the junior American citizen. So anything to promote citizenship and just kind of being a good person. We hold genealogy workshops. We take care of any of the markers we place in cemeteries we will clean. We clean headstones. We also help with neglected cemeteries. There's one cemetery down in, it's in York County, and it's in the middle of an active cow pasture. And so William Prowell, Captain William Prowell, is buried there with both of his wives and several of his children and grandchildren. But it's literally in the middle of an active. So unfortunately, like a cemetery like that, you have to contact the owner to go up and see. But yeah, I think I have a picture of the weed whacking there. And we place patriot markers, which I'll share some photos of. We go to naturalization court at both the federal and county courthouse in Dauphin County, and we welcome new citizens, and we have them a flag. We have a chapter house in Hummelstown that is not deeded to us, but we use it, and if several people pass away and a couple other things happen, it would eventually become ours. And I talked about essays, and we do scholarships. The State Society, we have 4 scholarships. Nationally, I don't know, does anyone have children or grandchildren who ever applied for a DAR scholarship?
My daughter did.
Oh, great.
Yeah.
So we give away tens of thousands of dollars in scholarships every year. And I talked about the JROTC and the ROTC. We support not only Harrisburg High School, they have a Navy program, but Lower Dauphin in Hummelstown, 2 or 3 years ago, started an Army JROTC program. So we kind of just do all kinds. So this is Indian. Oh, that is me up there weed whacking, Captain Prowell. And that is 2 daughters at the Indian Town Gap National Cemetery for Seniors. So for Lafayette, to commemorate so it was 1825, so in 1925, when he came back to the United States, we did a 100th anniversary and partnered with the Historical Society of Dauphin County. On the right, that is at one of the naturalization courts, and that is me in the red dress wearing the white Marie Antoinette wig, which is very heavy and uncomfortable. And then these are the Army cadets at Lower Dauphin. Great group of people, and the colonel there is a wonderful program. So for America 250, so I became regent in May of 2022, and we started the America 250 committee. So the first thing we did is we said every month we want to talk about the Patriots, and we would invite a daughter to research her Patriot and come up and give us like a 2-minute Patriot bio. And then we did Patriot cards, and we were like all about the Patriots. Anything we can do to speak the name of the Patriots who served. So this culminated into a couple of markers. So this was March of last year, and this is at Renwick Cemetery in Lingelstown. And there are 9 Revolutionary War Patriots buried there, and this marker commemorates those 9 individuals. And then the following month, we did one out at Strode Cemetery, and there are 2 Patriots buried there, but there's actually a 3rd, which I'll talk about him in a minute. So this is George Strode and Christian Stuckey. And has anyone heard of Big Boyd Tree Preserve? It's off of Fishing Creek, kind of close to. Anyways, that preserve is now part of the DCNR. And the cemetery was in this little grove of trees on property going up to Big Boyd. And then next month, in May, we are placing this America 250 marker at Shoup Cemetery in Colonial Park. Are any of you familiar or heard of that?
Yeah.
So, unfortunately, when I-83 was expanding, they needed to do a new clover leaf in the 50s. And so they needed to cut through the part of the cemetery where all the Revolutionary War Patriots were buried. So they dug them all up and and some came with their headstones, and they were reinterred into 10 vaults, and they did a monument, and we're going to place this marker on the monument that stands in the center of the 10 vaults, which probably takes up a little more than the space of this room in this area here. So unfortunately, some of the names didn't make it, and some of the headstones didn't make it, and very unfortunate. But so we have there 17 patriots that we are honoring, and one is a woman. And so the other project that we're working on for America 250 is we are trying to document all of the Revolutionary War patriots buried in Dauphin County. And up here at Locust Grove, you have Adam Bender. He's your man, right? Yeah. Everybody tribute to Adam Bender. So he will be in our book. So he was a soldier, and of course he served in the Lancaster County Militia. And I believe because he was kind of youngish, he was born in 51. His service was at the end of the war, and then he also paid the supply tax. So in order to qualify as a patriot, of course you can have military service, which I believe everybody knows. You can also have what we call patriotic service. So if you paid the tax, and that tax was used to buy munitions and supplies, that qualifies you. Loyalists and pacifists or Quakers, some did not pay the tax because they didn't believe in what was happening. But if you paid the tax on your property, and he had 70 acres, that also qualifies you. If you took and signed the oath of allegiance to the new republic, that also qualifies you. If you donated blankets or guns or other supplies or grain and forage, all those things qualify you to be recognized by the National Society as a patriot. So there's military patriotic service, and the third is civil service. If you served on a jury, if you were on a particular committee, if you were the overseer of fence posts from 1775 to 1783, you too qualify. So older men paid the tax, took the oath, or possibly had a civil service position. They didn't have to carry a musket to go out and fight in order to qualify. So this book we are launching at the Historical Society at the John Hurst Mansion on May 16th at 5 p.m. We are up to 300 patriots so far that have been vetted and verified, and we have about another 300 so we're going to have probably over 600 patriots that are buried in Dauphin County, which is really super cool. And as you know, or you may not know, Dauphin County, does anyone know what year it was formed? 1785. 85, yes. And prior to that, it was Lancaster. So all of these people served in the Lancaster County Militia. A handful of the people in this area were in the Continental Line. The majority of the people were in the Lancaster County Militia. So we're super excited about this. Unfortunately, the book won't be done until the end of the year or possibly early 2027. There's 6 John Duncans in the Harrisburg area. And we have to untangle each John Duncan, and some people say there's 3 buried at Newside, and some people say there's 1 over here in Union Deposit, and it's just a lot of work trying to make sure we get the right John Duncan in the right cemetery with the right service. So it's taking a lot longer than we had anticipated, unfortunately. So that's a little bit about our chapter. I will come back, but I want to talk a little bit about the state society. So every state has a state society, and this is their pin. We like pins. So it's the keystone, and they have the little leaf around it, the ivy. And so at the state level, chapters raise money and contribute to the state. They're doing, this is what building? Independence Hall in Philly. And the state society, Daughters of the American Revolution, is replacing all the window treatments in Independence Hall. It is it's a couple $100,000 price tag, very expensive. And so this is me and the state regent. Our chapter gave her $2,000 for the project. And this is just one example of one of the rooms. It will be $41,000 to replace those window treatments. because the fabric has to be of the period and color, and you know, they try to get these different fade. And but these window treatments were there in the late 90s, so they're long overdue for being replaced. So hopefully we'll continue to raise more money to be able to replace the window treatments, and that's just one example of what we do at the state level. So I have a couple of things over here to share. We also repurpose, do anybody have Cub Scouts or anybody that placed the graveside flags at veterans headstones? The Legion does. So what we do is we get the flags and we take them off the sticks and we wash them and then we fold them. And we put them in a little bag like this, and then we hand them out to veterans at Memorial Day and other parades. And so this is like an example of a kit that we will give to anyone, like chapters who are interested in doing this. And you have 10 flags, and then it just shows you how to maybe fold it and put it in the bag. And you know, here we just have a little DAR thing on it. So that's another thing that we do for veterans. We have also wrote this book. This is Revolutionary War Patriots, Historic Homes of Dauphin County. So many years ago, about 10 years ago, we researched patriots and homes that still existed. And so we published this book. It is a really nice picture book, and it has different patriots' homes. And I just found out one of the patriot homes in here was just bought by a condo association. And it's going to be raised. Very, very sad that they're going to be putting condos where this patriot's home was. But there was a woman who bought a historical home, and she asked us to kind of be a reference because she wants to get on the National Register of Historic Places. So any random individual will come to us and say, hey, can you help us, since they know that we support historic preservation. And we do a lot of research. We like bling. I'm not wearing these now, but these are like pins that we would wear at meetings. And so basically these are ancestor bars. So these are all the ancestors that I have proven I'm a descendant of that have service and that are recognized by the National Society. And then the pins in the middle are all the state pins of the states that they served in. So New Hampshire, Virginia, basically a bunch of the original colonies. And then the other pins are just some random pins. But, and this is our insignia at the bottom. And yeah, so like some women, like I'm going to our Pennsylvania State Society has a state conference. I'm going on Wednesday, and we're doing some stuff at Independence Hall on Thursday. And there will be some women, and this thing will be like down to here and over to here, full of bling, like thousands of dollars of bling. But they have fun with it. And again, some of it just acknowledges different rules that you have and things that you've done. And yeah, so I talked about our recent book, and and the other book that we did, and where did I just put that book?
There's two there. No, keep coming.
There's another. Oh, it's over here. This book. So this book, this is on Amazon. We did this a few years ago. We have 12 women who founded our chapter. They're called charter members. And I said, nobody ever talked about them. Nobody wrote anything about these women. Like, these women were pretty remarkable. So they lived in Harrisburg, either came from money or married into money, and did so much good in Harrisburg. They were so philanthropic and helped the needy and the poor and the underserved. Of the 12 women, 8 have no descendants. And I said, someone has to tell their story. The 8 of them have no descendants. So what we did is we told their story. So for each of the 12 women, we researched them, and because they were relatively prominent women in Harrisburg, there was so much about them in newspapers.com. There's just a treasure trove of information. They went to the opera this night, and they were in the Glee Club, and they helped, something at Soldiers Rest, and they helped create this monument, and they would help the orphans, and they helped found this and that. It just just was really, really remarkable. So, and it's not like, this is like a page turner, it's not, because it's, nonfiction, but it just really chronicles their lives and all the things that they did in and around Harrisburg. And then we also got, photographs of their original home, and we would map it out so we knew where they lived. And the interesting thing about this was we would find all these rabbit holes because we like to do research. And so one of our charter members, her grandfather, was a stop on the Underground Railroad. Very interesting. Another charter member, her husband's uncle, believe it or not, coined the expression Boston Tea Party, which was really, and I double, triple checked that research to make sure that that was the right man who actually, and historians credit this man with coining the expression Boston Tea Party. So it was a lot of fun, but we also wanted to pay tribute to the women who started our chapter, because without them, we wouldn't be here. And they were just so philanthropic and donated so much of their time and money back then.
Could you share just some of those names? Of the ones you're talking about.
Sure. So Francis.
See if we would recognize that.
So Sarah Campbell Carson Wyatt was the first regent, and her husband was Francis Wyatt, and it was his uncle who coined the expression the Boston Tea Party. And so that is the Wyatt connection to the Boston Tea Party. So her husband is Francis, and his uncle was Josiah Wyatt. And so he was 68, living in Cincinnati, Ohio, and was heard boasting about how he threw tea overboard while living in Boston in December 1773. And this local Ohio man, Timothy Flint, heard of Joshua's account and chose to meet him. Timothy then interviewed him, and he gave a very detailed account of what had happened. And so then, as this was chronicled through Timothy Flint, it was, historians have said, he was the person who actually, and he said, we were merry in an undertone at the idea of making so large of a cup of tea for the fishes. And that was when he had said, we had a tea party in Boston, the Boston Tea Party. This is the woman, Elizabeth Crane Rutherford Kunkel. The Rutherfords were the ones who had stops on the Underground Railroad. And it was all along what is now, I believe, Dairy Street? Or Paxton Street. Maybe it's Paxton Street as you leave Harrisburg. They all had their farms and mansions, and there were a lot of the stops, because the slaves were coming up through Harrisburg, and then they had to get them out of the city. So this is one of the mansions in the stop of the Underground Railroad. You can see this off of 83, as you kind of just south of the interchange of 283, before you cross the bridge, the Susquehanna River. That is the one, and it's now a nursing home or adult center. But that was one of the stops. And this charter member, she, very sad, she died very young, which she was, she just, I don't remember what she had died of, but she was 29. And she had a 8-year-old daughter, and so of course her husband took care of the 8-year-old daughter, and then the 8-year-old daughter died when she was like 12. So she had no offspring. Just very unfortunate. But she went to the Ogonce school. Have any of you heard of Ogonce? It was a women's preparatory school down towards Philly. And so she went to Ogonce. Amelia Earhart is an honorary member. She didn't graduate from there, but she went there to Ogonce. Oh, and some of the Ogonce school rules, are Ladies shall not be left alone in railway stations, shops, or restaurants. Ladies may only eat lunch at Sauter's or Blank's, that are both on Chestnut Street, this is in Philly. Ladies may not drink the Philadelphia water. No. They may not post letters nor send telegrams from Philadelphia, only from the Ogons Post Office. Callers are permitted at 8 o'clock on Monday and must leave at the stroke of 9. So these were some of the rules of the Ogon school. Yeah, so it was just a really fun, and I don't know if you've seen this, in Harrisburg is Soldiers Monument in honor of the Civil War. So this was very interesting. There was a group of 15 men that got together to build this monument. A year passed, and they had not raised money to lay the cornerstone, and this was July. And they were like, what do we do? So one guy said, I guess we need to get the women involved. So they got the women involved in July, and by September, they had a bazaar and had raised money for the cornerstone. So, what the men didn't achieve in 12 months, the women of Harrisburg did in 3. And then the monument was built, and it was on 2nd and State Street, and then it got relocated somewhere else in Harrisburg. So, those are just a couple of, but yeah, so this was really fun. And yeah, so we're a pretty active chapter. We have monthly programs, the second Thursday of the month, different educational speakers. But yeah, our passion really is helping veterans, being patriotic, anything we can do to encourage and support education, and then of course historic preservation. So, questions? Comments? Yeah.
Yeah, but Canty, you familiar, I know, right next door almost in Washington Township, the Hill Church, St. John's Lutheran Church has a monument.
In Harrisburg. Right? Yes.
Okay.
Yes,
Yeah.
that's the one. Yes, they call it the Hill Church because it sits up high.
Correct, yeah.
Yes, so they have 2 there, right? One is for,
Johannes out of Modern.
yes, the Mater, and then, is it not underlined? Who was the,
Michael.
Who was the
Michael.
master line?
okay, then maybe he was the Reverend up there?
Yes.
Okay, yeah,
Okay.
yeah, so they have markers that they placed. We did not, but I think we have in our book, I think we have 12 patriots we found that are buried there. So yeah, so that is, and that's not far from here. Okay.
Correct.
Yep.
Almost walking distance.
Oh, okay.
Oh,
Yeah,
we
there's,
want to walk, not now.
yeah, no, yeah, but back in the day, they did, well, maybe not this fancy, but yeah, back in the day, that's what they did. Yeah, so that was a nice find. I was surprised that our chapter didn't place a marker there, given the number of patriots that are buried there. But they tended to focus more in the southern part of Dauphin County, unfortunately.
When do your celebrations start? What activities, parades, what do you have coming up?
Oh, geez. Well, we have our book launch, which is May, Saturday, what did I say, it was the 16th. We are doing the marker dedication at Shoup Cemetery on May 30th. We have a Flag Day celebration we are doing at Hummel Memorial Cemetery in Hummelstown. And we placed a marker there. There are 12 names on it. We found an additional 20. So, and again, back in the day when our chapter was placing markers, this was in the 10s, 20s, 30s, and 40s, they didn't have access to the research that we have now. So we're finding a lot more patriots, which we're thrilled about.
Is there a parade or something in Harrisburg for the 250th that you'll be involved with? Or?
Actually, the State Society is trying to get everybody to go to Philadelphia on July 3rd.
Oh,
John Harris is going to come out on his front porch on July 4th, and he's going to read the Declaration of Independence like he does every year. And so that will be a big thing for in downtown Harrisburg.
that's about it for Harrisburg now.
Well, we have like New Site Cemetery is doing a dedication. I didn't bring the list of different events. Like Fort Halifax is doing something on June 6th, which is nearby. I don't know how many daughters will attend it. That's my daughter's graduation day, so I can't go to that. But we're being asked to attend and help and be part of different organizations. And mostly historical societies or cemeteries, other commemorative things for America 250. But yeah, but we're all about that. Oh, but I did want to just talk about, so at the one marker we did at Stroh Cemetery was George Stroh and Christian Stuckey. Well, there was a guy, Joseph Straw, but we couldn't find him anywhere. And I randomly found a document, and I'm looking at it, and the cursive, it's S-T-R-A-W, but the T and the R look like an H. And I said, oh my God, I wonder if he's listed as Joseph Shaw. I go into the Pennsylvania Archives, Volume 7, or Series 5, Volume 7. I look up Shaw, and don't you know, there he is, Joseph Shaw. Nothing under Straw or Stroh. And so this is where it gets crazy with the name spelling. So he was a rock star. So if I could go back in time, I would want to make sure I live near him because I want to marry that man. Other than my man. I mean, I have a picture of him, of me hugging his headstone. So I was like, oh my God, we forgot you. I'm so sorry. But we are going to do a separate marker just for him. He was the constable of Paxton Township. Like, that was a big deal. In addition to his military service, he paid the tax, he took the oath, he donated, he did everything. And you know the story about the Pennsylvania Archives and military records when they were transcribed? All the originals were discarded. All the original muster rolls, all those archival records from the Revolutionary War were thrown out because they had this typed transcription. Breaks my heart. So you can't go back and look at originals and say, well, there he is. I can see why people thought it was an H, but it was a T and an R. It was Joseph Straw, and they thought it was an H. And so it got transcribed as Joseph Shaw, but we're going to correct that, and he's going to get his own little marker, because he was a rock star. So yeah, but I think we're doing as much as we possibly can leading up to everything. And then we have, like I have an award ceremony for the JROTC for Harrisburg and Lower Dauphin that we'll give medals at. And then we have our junior American citizens who placed at National, this little Margaret Mary Catholic School in Harrisburg. It was like a 6th grade classroom, I think, and they placed at the national level for the contest, which was really cool. So yeah, anything?
Could you just say a little bit about your gown?
So I wanted a Revolutionary War era dress.
Yes.
And several of the women have like a dress you would wear every day. And it's easier to walk in, and has an apron, and has a shift, and it's just a different style. They wear their little cap or bonnet. And I said, well, on Fridays, when we have state meetings, women are encouraged to wear red in honor of veterans. So I was like, I'd like to get a red dress. And then I said, well, it'd be fun to wear something fancy. Most women have just the regular every day. So I found this dressmaker in London, and he had this Marie Antoinette style dress, and it was red. This is basically what it looked like on a mannequin. And I called him up and said, how does this work? And he said, give me these 30 measurements. So I painstakingly took all these measurements. Don't change your weight once you get this. When you're locked in, it's fitted. And sent them off to him. And the weird thing was, he texted me on a Wednesday and says, the fabric's on the table. And he had said he had like 30 yards of fabric. And I was like, okay. And then Friday he said it was done. I got it from London on Monday.
Oh.
I was like, wow, what? But it took like 6 months for him to get the fabric on the table. But it was crazy from Wednesday to Monday, and then I have this dress. So and there's but it's fun, and I'm of course trying to get my money's worth, so I'm wearing it this year as much as I possibly can. And it's fun to, my daughter has gone to prom and semi and has all these dresses she goes out and buys. I was like, I went to my junior prom and that was it. Like, I don't have a closet full of all these nice dresses. And I was like, well, I do now. I have this nice dress, so I will wear it every time I can and it's appropriate because we're back from the Revolutionary War, so.
Is it hard to keep and maintain it?
Well, actually, you put it in the shower and you hose it like with a.
No.
Yeah, that's how you have to. You can't. This is not a wash and wear, but it's 2 pieces, So this is a piece, and the skirt is a piece, and I do have a pocket. And I have like a traditional pocket, and it's the traditional cotton socks that come up to here, you know, they're mine. And these are not real shoes, but they're, but yeah, so the style of this dress is, I guess, is authentic, because he makes dresses for, like for movies. He does reproduction era. Like, I don't know if he made any of the Gilded Age dresses. Any of you watched the Gilded Age or on HBO?
Yep.
Okay, their costumes are pretty spectacular, so. But yeah, I thought he did a really nice job, and I, you know, I'm wearing it.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for being interested in
thank
my
you.
dress. Anything else? So I do have some brochures up here. I have a couple of copies of the handout. I thought I brought 30 copies, but somewhere at the meeting last night, people must have taken some. So I do have a few that I'll leave if any of you. And of course, if you're interested in joining the sons or the daughters, I can give you the name of the people for the sons, and you know, join our chapter. But I mean, we are very active. We like to do a lot and serve in Dauphin County. So
You can pass the other ones out.
yeah, and then I have these brochures. So these you can, if you want to pass those around, take one. Yes, so this just talks a little bit about, again, who we are and how to get a hold of us. And we do have a website as well. Are you guys doing anything for America 250 up here? You can have a parade, right?
That's what's up. They don't know about that yet. I'm bringing that up in the
Oh, okay, so I don't mean to steal your thunder. But as a historical society, I mean, you know, there's, you just have to, you know, do one thing.
Tomorrow?
And yes, you can sell it.
Because of the son's marriage. I just put, oh, married at John Harris.
Right.
Harris Cameron.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I mean, this is a good turnout for a small town historical
Ever in
society.
there.
I mean, what's the population of this?
John Harris.
1,500.
Oh,
Did you see
oh,
that
geez,
they
I
had
know it was bigger. I know it's 2,000.
handkerchief
Wow.
that
1,500. It
somebody
was when I was watched.
Okay.
It's more now.
So, but no, so this is a nice,
Harrisburg
yeah.
There's developments around that aren't in the actual borough,
funeral trail.
so that would make it.
Are they interested in the local history though?
Who knows?
We advertise this, you know, in the newspaper, so everybody knows we're here.
Yeah, I mean, history, and, you know, there aren't a lot of kids. I mean, we have a history scholarship. One student applied last year for the whole state of Pennsylvania.
Oh,
my goodness.
Yeah, we had like 30 apply for STEM, one for history. I mean, it just breaks my heart.
tell them we're teaching.
So, and you know, sometimes, like they said during the bicentennial, a lot more people like got engaged in history again. I don't know if that's happening now.
How does someone go about applying for that scholarship? I have a grandson that's gonna be going off to
So,
college.
if you can, contact the local DAR chapter, or you can Google Pennsylvania State Society, Daughters of the American Revolution, and you can, they have a public facing page where you can download the application. Yeah, so, I know, I just went, my daughter got Student of the Month, and as we're there, the boy that got Student of the Month was like, yeah, he's gonna major in history, and I was like, and I substitute the school, I was like, oh, I was so disappointed because he didn't apply, and I'm sure we probably didn't have maybe one person apply, and he's very academically oriented, he would have won for sure. And I was just so sad that I didn't know that he was going to major in history. And actually, we gave, this is being recorded, I don't know if this is accurate, but I think 4 America 250 scholarships, 10,000 each, to students, a special this year if you're studying history. And so a lot of, and that was at the national level, but a lot of kids applied for that because 10 grand is, whew, that's a hefty scholarship. Most of our scholarships are $1,000 to $5,000. And at the national level, they're all college. So anybody who's in college, you can apply every year. The state level scholarship, you have to be a senior in high school. So, but yeah, and if you know anybody in California who wants to study horticulture, they have a scholarship they haven't awarded for years. because apparently nobody is studying horticulture in California. So it's the long lost scholarship. So,
A lot of times the students don't know about these scholarships.
yeah, and it's hard to get, which is unfortunate. But I will say at Pine Grove, the secretary gets on the announcement, she's like, final reminder, you have one more week to apply for the Lois and John, Schneider Rotary Scholarship, or the so-and-so in this scholarship. So, but yeah, it is hard to get those out there. Anything else?
And we appreciate that. Both Mitch and I are history teachers.
Oh.
I'm definitely retired. And of course, we're history nerds too.
We
So,
like history nerds.
yes,
We be nerdy together.
yes, we love history. So, appreciation for all that you shared.
Oh, yeah.
I just have a question. How many national members are there, would you say, if you have like a ballpark estimate?
So if we have 3,000 in the state, 50 states, over 100,000.
Really?
We did have, so we all get a national number when we joined. Mine's 895-829-650. We just had our 1 millionth daughter, and this was a couple of years ago. So that's from the beginning of time. So we've had 1 million daughters over since 1890. So, and it goes through cycles. I mean, I know Pottsville, Montago has a chapter, very small, might have like 25 daughters in it, and that's in Schuylkill County. And then Harrisburg, I think we're the 3rd largest in the state, with like 220 members. So, yeah, but there's, and it varies. Texas, don't mess with Texas. Oh boy, did they have some large chapters. I was at the national conference in DC, and I just sat down having lunch with these women. She's like, yeah, in our chapter we have 560 women. I'm like, and now think of the treasurer's role as a volunteer to manage dues collection for 560 women. I couldn't even imagine that. It's so hard for 220. And I said, well, my gosh, your meetings must be gigantic. She's like, no, we get about 40 or 50 people at a meeting. And I was like, that's how many we get. And we're 220. We get about a quarter of our daughters come to our monthly programs. So how many people total in your historical society?
Oh, there's over 50, but, they're not in the area.
Right, but you have, what, 20 here right now?
Yeah. Well,
Geez, that's a good
I'm
percentage.
talking there's many more. I couldn't tell you.
Oh, okay, but they're not active.
No,
You have like 50 active.
Right.
Okay.
Well, we could
Yeah.
close. Yeah.
Well, I mean, if you want to partner with us, because we service Dauphin County, if you're trying to come up with something for America 250, I don't know if your deadline is you want to have it done before July 4th or not, or if you just want to get something done. But I mean, you could take any historical date that's something in the town if you wanted to commemorate, and it could be after July 4th, depending on what it was. But we'd be happy to help if we can in some way. At a minimum, we can bring folded flags and then wait and hand out folded flags.